Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Just give it a few minutes, inshallah, while we start. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruh. Wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina. Man yahdillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlil fala hadiya lahu. Wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu. Wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Amma ba'd. فقد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم خذ من أموالهم صدقة تطهرهم وتزكيهم صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected listeners, sisters, as we know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created a perfect religion. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this Islam as a way of life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us and bestowed us with the wisdom and the sunnah imparted to us by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we see the examples of how to apply practical life for us. Now that being said, many a times or sometimes there's doubts that might come into our mind. Sometimes we may not understand the full wisdom of something. Sometimes we may be distracted or be influenced by the society that we live in. But one of the things that we can all agree, when a person has Iman and he believes in the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when she believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and she believes in the last day, she believes in the messenger of Allah, she believes in the day of Qiyamah, and that life and death, Jannah and Jahannam is a place and abode that is real. Then with this conviction, with this realization that she is a Muslim, he's a Muslim, then they will follow the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether they like it, whether they accept it, whether they feel comfortable with it, whether it is difficult or not. They will submit completely to the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what is called Islam. A Muslim is one who submits to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that being said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Khaliqul Kainat. He is the one who created every single thing. He's the one who created the universe. He's the one who created the heavens, the earth. He knows all of the creatures. He knows the different types of conversations that takes place by the creatures. He understands all the languages at one time. He can hear everything. He can see everything. He knows everything. He knows what types of creatures are in the dark of the night, what types of creatures in the depth of the sea. He knows what kind of microorganisms that was created. He knows every single detail of his creation. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed us Islam to be the correct way of life, He has placed within it wisdoms that is beyond our understanding. So when it comes to things like mannerisms and etiquettes, there are etiquettes that we find in our Western society, our secular society, but there is etiquettes of Islam. And Islam is incorporating all of the etiquettes that exists in our society. And we should know that if Islam has deemed something to be right and to be acceptable, then this is right and this is acceptable. And if Islam has deemed something to be flawful or full of flaw or something that is considered improper or against etiquettes, then Islam is the judge of that. The Deen is the judge of that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the judge of that. I'll take a quick example. In our modern society and in Western society, we have things like um, good character that, everyone understands character in itself. But good character is determined in our Western society in the way that we speak, the mannerisms that we use, the way that we would respond to other people, how cheerful you can make yourself look, how pleasant you are in greeting, how a person dresses, and so on and so forth. That's commonplace. When you go to certain European countries, you go to England, for example. I was talking about this recently, that when you go to England and you go into the airport, and if you've never been there, you will find that people are treating you so good. And you become really, really happy that look at the character of the people here, right? But when you realize that this is their outward depiction of good morals, professionalism, it's actually a very high level of professionalism that you'll get. So the decorum will be very appealing, and you'll feel happy. Look how I'm treated, look how I'm respected. You feel a pleasantness to the reception that you're getting from someone else. But that's not real akhlaq. That is part of your akhlaq and part of your character as a person. So a person would see that type of treatment and say, these people are really, really good people, really good character. But that is them displaying their professionalism. So that does not make your character. It's one of the aspects that you translate your character with, but it is not the way that a person actually has in a depth of character. In Islam now, your character not just includes the way that you behave with others and your etiquettes and your mannerisms with others, but it also includes the way that you feel in your heart. How do you think about the person when you're speaking to them? How do you doubt the person in front of you? How do you take the information that you may have gotten from that person, or what do you do with that privacy of information that you have just received? Are you going to backbite about it? Are you going to slander about it? Are you going to talk to others about it? What is the actual reaction, and what is really governing the actual feelings that you may have in your heart? This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has talked about so many times your heart. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا, that person's heart who is purified would be successful. A successful person who purifies his heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about qalbun salim, that when a person has a pure heart, this is the people that will enter the Jannah, because your heart is the essence of your character. And I'll just finish this little intro that I was giving. This is what we would refer to as the akhlaq, the khuluq, the inner characteristics that sets the core or the responses of a person. And when that core is pure and that core is trying hard and that core is beautiful inside, then naturally you will see that reciprocated and translated on the outside. You will see the mannerisms of Islam being adhered to. You would see the type of speech that would come out. You would see the way that they would treat others with respect and kindness and love and consideration. So, as I said, Islam has its distinct way of describing anything. So when it comes to character, not just we're looking for an outward application of that, but we're looking for an inward application of it. This is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's religion of Islam is a pure and beautiful and complete religion. It is al-yawma akmaltu lakum dinakum. It is where Allah has perfected it. So when you understand the perfection of Islam, you will start realizing that, what, if I understand something wrongly or I doubt something about Islam, then the problem is not Islam. It is not the way that I understand it. It is not even the interpretation that is given to me by the ulama or the scholars that I may doubt. But a lot of times, first thing you should be checking on is yourself, to see what is wrong with your understanding, what is wrong with your khuluq, what is wrong with your innate nature that has now maybe has become mutilated in a way or transformed in a way that it does not accept purity. Subhanallah. So this is one of the reflections that we can take, inshallah. Reflections of whenever there's a question to ask about Islam, You do check it to see, this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from His Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam. What are the ulama, the pious and righteous scholars are saying? Because the righteous scholars have divine guidance by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because their job is to protect the deen. Their job is to enhance the practice of deen in the lives of the people. Their job is to ensure that people can practice their Islam. The job is to teach the people. The job is to give da'wah. The job is to preserve the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is their expert field. So the first thing is, when it is from Allah and His Rasul, first look at it. Is it? Yes, mashallah. Second thing is, understand that if it is an explanation given by the rightly guided ulama and scholars, then mashallah. Now the third thing is, check yourself. Really contemplate, what am I doing wrong? Why am I understanding this wrong? May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala open up my heart. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give me guidance to do what I'm supposed to be doing. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala strengthen my resolve to do as He pleases. So then right away you start working on yourself to realize that, okay, I may be feeling something, I may be understanding it wrongly, I may be doing something, but look at yourself to understand that, what? Islam teaches me humility. Islam asks me to be sincere. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala asks me to be sincere. Let me try to find out, why am I having such a difficult time in following the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So as I said, this is the first point. You see, when you have this understanding, that every single difficulty, every single problem that you may face in Islam, indeed, right away you feel comforted that, what? Islam is correct and I am wrong. You would feel comforted that, what? When people treat me this way, is either I am following Islam or and getting rewarded for it, or is it that me, I am the problem? So it solves many of the issues that you face in life, personal issues, communal issues, you find, financial issues. You check yourself, what are you doing wrong? What did you do against the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So this is the first point. Now, the second point that I wanted to go to is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed a system to help society, and I'm talking about a financial system, an economic system, that builds layers upon layers to make a foundation perfect, to make a society such that they can accept the goodnesses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the rizq of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yet it's a collaborative effort that takes place. And this is in the institution of the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with regard to zakah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, خُذْ مِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ صَدَقَةً. Take from them their wealth, take from them their charities, take from them their zakah. تُطَهِّرُهُمْ وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ. The effect of that, taking their zakat and letting them pay their zakat, what would happen right away? It will تُطَهِّرُهُمْ, it will cleanse them, وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ, and it will purify them. Cleanse them, we can say here, means it will cleanse their wealth. When a person has, and this is the nature of wealth, it is always tainted with some type of wrong or illicit transaction. If you know the modern world that we live in right now, it's full of riba, it's full of interest-based transactions, it's full of deception, it's full of people stealing, doing this, doing that. So sometimes you will get the taste, you will get the fragments, as much as you have pure wealth and you're working harder for purity in your wealth, because that itself, when it is pure, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepts it. When it is impure, then this is haram. Whatever he eats, drinks, earns from it, it will be haram as well. So anyway, when a person understands that, what, this wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with, or this wealth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me, it can be tainted with evil, then he will or she will give zakah, and inshallah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the benefit of giving zakah will be such that that will be removed, the evil will be removed, and the purity of the wealth will continue. Just like gold pieces, when you get a gold piece off the ground, it is mixed with dirt and different things. And what happens is they clean it first, and then after you melt it, and the pure gold remains, and any impurity that melts out or that floats up on top, and they get rid of that. And then the pure gold remains. So this is the same thing that happens with your wealth. When you give zakah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you the benefit of purity of your wealth. and the barakah of it then stands there. The benefits of this continues. Your business flourishes. All of the different things happen from the investments that you make in giving zakah. The second thing that happens is وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ. When you spend your wealth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purifies your heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purifies your soul in one form, in one way. So some of the ibadah that we do, they have direct benefits to us, to people, to our hearts, to our soul, to our nourishments, the spiritual nourishments that we look for, towards our spirituality. So one of those nourishments that we get, or benefits that we get, it purifies your soul from the love of this world. It helps purify your soul from bukhl and from greediness and from lacking generosity. This is one of the benefits of giving zakah. So subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in His commands and His perfect deen has given so many benefits to us. And when we don't understand the hikmah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed, at least understand that we have to submit and we have to follow the commands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when we do this properly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase and give us the goodness in this world. It will benefit us directly. It will benefit our wealth. It will benefit our people. It will benefit our businesses. It will benefit us. And also Allah will reward us in the akhirah and give a Jannatul Firdaus, inshallah. So with regard to purifying our souls, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made bakhil, a bakhil person, a disliked person. The quality of bakhil, which is stinginess, greediness, a blameworthy trait. And when a person is not generous, not a person who likes to spend for Allah's pleasure, a person who likes to hoard, a person who has this dislike or hate for other people improving, getting, receiving, bettering, even when people are getting the opportunity to receive, you become you dislike that, you hate it, you didn't like that person gets and you did not get, you display a sense of jealousy towards that. So this is some of the signs of a person who has bukhl in their hearts, a person who has stinginess and greediness in their hearts. They find it very hard for other people to benefit. They find it very hard for other people to gain, to receive. Far more forgiving, mashallah. They're supposed to be given, but I'm talking on a lesser, when that person's bukhl or that person's greediness and stinginess is now becoming stronger and stronger, and his strength of generosity, kindness, spending, it is becoming less and less. So the bakhil person, وَيَأْمُرُ بِالْبُخْلِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this somewhere in the Quran, that then that person even commands to stinginess, commands to keeping away and not spending. So I was talking about this just this morning. I was hearing someone talking about the generosity, that whenever people come with a claim for a desire for something that they're asking for, this is a business place, and they're asking for windows for masjid and windows for less fortunate and these kind of items, the person is saying that, you know what, I advise the person not to give most of the times, right? Because he does not find any of the causes worthy. And right away you can tell, you know what, first of all, this is something very dreadful or something fearful to say, that how can you command, how can you tell someone to not spend? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed so much benefit, so much greatness, so much Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that inna sadaqatu tutfi ghadab al-rabb, that spending and doing sadaqah, it subdues the anger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Is there any action that you think that can subdue Allah's anger? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the anger of Allah, imagine the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will destroy entire nations. But here, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that when you give sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, your hard-earned wealth, you give that for Allah's sake, then this is enough to subdue the anger of Allah and gain His mercy. And the beautiful thing about sadaqah, about zakah, about spending for the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whenever there is a cause, try to answer all of the causes, even if it be in portions and as much as you can. But here, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made spending an easy ibadah. You don't have to have plenty knowledge. You don't have to have great spiritual highs. You don't have to have, a lot of dedication. In fact, you may not even have to have deep concentration. You just have to have a pure niyyah, a pure intention that you're doing this for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept my spending for His way, for His path, in this good cause. That this is enough and sufficient to fulfill your ibadah. A complete worship is being done by just taking out $1, $2, $100, $1,000, $1,000,000, and you spending for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As soon as it goes into the hands of the person who is the recipient, straight away your reward is secured. Beautiful. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the ibadah of spending a very easy one. A very easy one. And one that can earn someone great merits in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I was mentioning that the bakhil one would say, you know what? Don't spend. Don't give to that. That cause is not worthy. That cause is not worthy. That cause is not worthy. That is not good. It just comes to my mind. Do we ask these questions when we see an array of foods in front of us? That, you know what, don't try this, don't try this, don't try this. Or do we say, you know what, I want to try it. These are all exotic things, I don't know which one I'll be preferring, or which one might not take to my tongue, because everyone will have a different taste. But you'll say, let me try this, let me try this. And you would try to point towards something that is more beneficial. Do not take away from people's good deeds and take them away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's worship when they wish or they've intended to do something that is good. All right? Yes, you may use the opportunity to guide them towards how to still spend, but yet, spend on better causes maybe sometimes. But do not ever take away someone's goodness, that they wish to do something or they might do something, and you say to them, no, this is not good. No, don't do this. And you're happy to stop someone from doing an ibadah. This is the essence of someone who is bakhil, and this is the essence of the practice of someone who has deep stinginess within them. I was speaking about the verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَتُزَكِّيهِمْ, and it will purify them. So one of the things that zakah does, it purifies us in different ways. It purifies us so that we do not have this feeling of love of the world, love of wealth, because you know that this is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah commands towards spending, so you will spend. So it solves and it resolves the bukhul and the stinginess that we will have in our hearts. And it tries to cleanse that so that the person becomes sakhi. So a person becomes a generous person. The generous person is so well loved in society, well loved in the world, well loved in the akhirah, well loved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's eyes. A sakhi person, a generous person is always going to be loved. No matter what the person looks like, no matter sometimes even the character of the person, you will still have a soft place for that person, because you know what? This person spends for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This person is generous. I would always have this person helps me, this person helps hundreds and thousands of people. Allah's blessed him with wealth and he spends. So you will still have some type of softness. You will still have critiques that you may have generally, which you shouldn't have, but mashallah, whatever the world that we live in and the reality of it, but you will still have a soft spot for this generous person, regardless of the person and their actions. So this is one of the benefits of sakhawat and spending for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So this is the two benefits I just mentioned there. One is that it purifies our hearts from stinginess, but yet the second benefit is it purifies the hearts of the recipients, the people towards us. Because sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. Sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed us in a position that He did not place other people. And people are seeing this. And people are looking on. And people are realizing that, you know what, so and so have this. Look, he's driving a new car. Look, he's driving a new house. Look, this is a millionaire. This is a billionaire. Look, he comes to the masjid. Look at the car that he's driving. It's worth $2 million, $3 million. It's worth $4 million. The type of car that's driving, I can't even sit in a car like that. I can't even smell the seats, the leather of the seats, right? Far more. I mean, the tire itself costs more than my entire house, than my entire property. The tires on the car is so expensive, right? The bumper of the car costs more than my entire estate, everything that I own. This is the reality of the life that we're living in. Think about it. When Allah has blessed people and blessed us, He's blessed us so much, subhanAllah, over others. So isn't the person supposed to be shakir and grateful for what Allah has blessed, and give, and be generous and be loving and accept the mercies of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? When someone comes to them, you do not refuse them. When someone asks, you do not, you do not frown on them. So that's what I'm saying. The second benefit is that it creates a space for the less fortunate to feel comfortable that this person is still a generous person. This person still benefits me. I still get some type of help from the person or from the masjid or from the people who have wealth. That this community still cares about me. This community is not going to ostracize me. These people are people who will give. When I am in need and I really need something, I know that I can go somewhere and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will bless me through the means that has been placed there in the system of zakah. So billions of dollars throughout the entire year is spent in this ibadah of zakah, and it has a very strong benefit economically to the entire world. And this is why this is, statistical. Is something that is understood throughout the entire world, right? That zakah helps generate a stronger economy. It helps promote the economy itself. It helps bring up the statuses of people. It helps people alleviate their poverty. It helps people live in a better lifestyle every time. It improves the lives of others. And it's a mandatory requirement that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has placed that will benefit society. But this is an ibadah. This is an ibadah. This is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained as His worship, and the way that you would gain His pleasure by doing so. So my dear respected viewers, listeners, brothers and sisters, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with some type of wealth. If it means nothing that we have, then even then you have. Because a person would be lower than you. This is why we look at those people lower than you. Right? And when you do that, when you understand that Allah has blessed me, when you are shakir, when you are grateful that Allah has given me, then you will start accepting that I am supposed to be grateful and thankful for this. And also you will start realizing that, what? A thankful person can be an ungrateful person. So you will start showing gratitude and gratitude. And Allah increases, mashallah. Allah loves those people who are grateful, and He increases those people who are grateful and thankful. But what happens there is right away you realize that you're not deserving of Allah's gratefulness, Allah's bounties upon you. We're never deserving of anything. We never are supposed to get. We're not supposed to be ones who have to have. It is Allah's grace upon us that He gives us. And if Allah was to take us to task for the evils of our life and the evils that we have done, then we have not gotten anything. We would not even benefit in any way whatsoever. We would not have the lovely family that we have. We would not have the homes that we are benefiting from. We would not have the wealth that Allah has blessed us. We would not have a place to sleep. We would not have food to eat. We would not have somewhere to go if we need something. I'm saying count the favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you will see there's much, much more than we actually see or we are mindful of, because insan forgets. So be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be generous to Allah, generous for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Spend on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Understand the laws of zakah and the benefits of zakah, and the zakah that the benefits that bring society. And do these things willingly and mindfully, so that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you in this world and blesses you in the akhirah. I end by saying that we do have a workshop today after the Dhuhr Salah. This is 1:30. It will be streamed online as well, and it will be in the masjid as well. Those people who can come to the masjid, come to the masjid. It's a better environment. It's going to have some practicals as well, so we're going to go through a few things. And even with that, you will have a deeper understanding of this command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the command of zakah and paying your zakah, so that you can reap the benefits of it. And I'll tell everyone who's listening as well, when a person understands this properly and he puts his investment of zakah down, he ensures and he secures the investment of zakah, then this definitely brings barakah in his business. It brings barakah in his investments. It gives him back more. It protects him. It takes away from all different types of harms that would have been coming, and then he or she benefits from that ibadah in a direct way. So it's a great investment for a person. So please join us with this in the workshop, inshallah, if you can, because the workshop is open for everyone, and it's also going to be streamed online, so you can join there if you need to as well, inshallah. Just remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this month of Ramadan, and we have the opportunity of life right now. We have the opportunity of strength. We have the opportunity of doing actions. So do those actions while we still can. Today is a Sunday. Do as much good actions as you can. As much good actions as a person can, do it, and inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you. So Jazakumullah for tuning in, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your good deeds for this month of Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your sadaqat. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your zakat. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your standing in his path. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept your fasting. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept the resolve that you've made and the resolves that you're making to leave off all types of evil, and accept the good intentions that you have. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify your souls, and may He give you all and give us all جنة الفردوس. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.